It is Freaks Week, where I'm celebrating my standalone novel, Freaks. It's a gothic romance set in the 1980s, and it's super campy and steamy, and I really, really love it. And so for this week, I've already done a bunch of fun stuff where I've got multiple giveaways going on. I've shared a digital scrapbook. I've shared a book trailer. I've done the Dreamcast, and it's all been really fun and I do really love this book, and I love talking about it, and I love talking to readers who also love this book. It was kind of a quiet sleeper book for me, so it's fun to really talk about it again because I don't get a lot of chances to. But earlier this week I asked readers if they had any questions about Freaks, and they did. So today I am answering all of the readers' questions. Most of the questions aren't very spoilery, a couple of them are, but I'm going to do the ones that aren't spoilery, and then I will add the spoiler tag when they get that way. So for now, you are safe if you haven't read Freaks. The question that I got more than any other question was, will there be more books in this Freaks? Is there going to be a series? Will I be returning to the world in any capacity? All kinds of variations of that. And so the answer to that is no. I really loved writing Freaks, but one thing that I really needed to do with the writing process is I really wanted it to be a standalone novel. I wanted to just get in the world and get out, because I've been writing so many series, and that can be hard for me sometimes to try and balance what I've told and what I haven't told, and how much I'm rehashing and what I need to hold back, and so it's just, I wanted to do just, it can all be in one book. That doesn't, but I do totally get it, that because it's because of the way the world is, and that she's in this traveling sideshow with a bunch of other people with different powers. I could go a bunch of different ways, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even necessarily have to write about Mara or Gabe. I could write about other people. But I think the main reason why I'm probably not going to be returning to the world is simply just that actually the book didn't sell very well. So I just don't see there being a big enough demand for me to return to the world, especially when I hadn't had plans to return there. But I mean, I definitely think it's fun, and I really loved it, and there are a bunch of different ways that stuff could go. But I definitely still think it works as a contained novel too. So I mean, I love it as it is. Another question that I got was, what inspired you to write Freaks, and where did the ideas from it come from? Freaks was really inspired by, it was just, I looked at what I really loved, and because I was kind of going through a tough spot creatively, and I just kind of felt like I was trying so hard to write books that connected with people and trying to figure out how to sell, and it was so much focusing on not what I wanted to write, I guess. I don't know. But so I wanted to write something that I just wanted to. And so I started writing it, and I just combined a bunch of things that I really loved. I loved the 1980s. I also think that setting things in the past, before the year 2000, when it comes to horror novels, is always really nice, because once cell phones become ubiquitous, it kind of changes the whole dynamic of horror. And I like the isolation that comes from when you can't just Google or call someone. So those are the reasons why it was set in the 80s. I love Pretty in Pink and The Lost Boys, and I think there's a lot of both elements in those in there. I really love, I think that carnivals are really cool, and also really creepy they can be, and so I thought that made it a really fun thing to do. I also think around the time that I was brainstorming this, we were rewatching the X-Files, and I watched the X-Files episode, I think with the traveling carnival in there. They were actually really popular in the early 90s, and I'm blanking on the name of it. I'll put it on this is the name of the traveling carnival that was in the X-Files episode, and they were really popular, and they did Lollapalooza and stuff, and I was really into that, and there was this resurgence of carnivals and circuses in the early 90s, and so I did consider setting it in the early 90s because of that, but I decided that I liked the campiness of the 80s more, and I love the juxtaposition of this moody southern gothic, and you really see that with Gabe's family and in the town of Caudry, but then this splash of 80s plastic flashiness, combining with it, and the way those two things kind of contradict each other and play against each other. Another question that I had was, how much research did you do for Freaks? I actually did a lot of research. I had huge packets of stuff that was popular in the 1980s, and so I had what I called my 1987 Bible, because everything that was in it was so I could have songs, movies, slang, what products were available for the average person and how much they would cost, and to try to figure out if it was affordable for my characters in Freaks. And so there was a lot of stuff like that. I had this huge packet of stuff, but I also read up a lot about sideshows and carnivals and Barnum and Bailey's and stuff like that, and there was a lot of like exploitation and human rights violations and animal abuse that went on in some of the earlier traveling circuses, and especially with the freak shows. I mean, it's called the freak show. It's not a pleasant thing. So I really wanted to make but they're not all of them. Some of them were things like what I tried to do with Gideon Devoran's traveling sideshow, which was try to make it a friendly place, a place where people could be themselves and they could help each other and have a family and not be exploited, but be able to find work in ways that because they have different like abilities and talents and skills and appearances where it might be more difficult for them to find a job, and now here they're able to make a living on it in a way that makes them happy and makes them comfortable. And the animals, I really tried to go out of my way to explain like how the tigers were housed in a way that was make them happy. But realistically, tigers traveling around and doing shows, they're not going to be happy. I mean, I know I think they've banned animals in circuses in some places because the traveling on the road is really hard for them. It's also really, really hard for people, though, to be honest. Like, for most people, it is a difficult way of life. And so that was something that I also wanted to be kind to with the characters, is that they are doing something that's difficult, and they are doing it because they've got limited options. But it is something that they are trying to do, but they're still trying to be equitable and trying to have this place that is happy and safe for all of them, when a lot of them have not known safety in the past. They have a lot of story paths. I touched on some of them in the book. I did have an idea like beforehand that I would if things went well, I was gonna write prequel stories, like short ones for each character showing how they came into be in the sideshow, but it was something that I ended up not doing and stuff. But it was, so I'm like, all of them come from like really like most of them I would say come from really like traumatic backgrounds to get there, but that's how it works sometimes. Now on to the spoilery question. So these next two questions are going to have spoilers, and if you haven't read Freaks, so just keep that in mind. This one is why did you kill Selena, Gabe's sister, at the end of the book, as opposed to, or why did I kill Gabe's sister as opposed to any of the other characters? The big part of it was, for me, was that I felt like the Browley family, which is that's Gabe's mom's maiden name, that's the legacy or whatever, that they had been doing this thing that was terrible for a long time, and they needed to kind of there needed to be some comeuppance for it. I thought that killing Adela Jane would be too jarring though for Gabe, because I did still want Gabe to have a happily ever after, and I mean, losing his sister is definitely hard, but I think it's less hard, I guess, than losing your mom like that. And I also think that I wanted her to have to reckon with it, where she died, she didn't have to reckon with anything. She just kind of, she's dead. But here I wanted her to really have to live with some of the consequences of her family's actions. I mean, I definitely, part of the Browley family legacy, and they talk about owning the house for 200 years, and it's in the deep south, and it's a plantation farm. I mean, they had to have money. They had to have made their money on slavery. I mean, that's basically the implication of the reality of owning a huge antebellum style house in the South for 200 years and having this legacy. So I guess I kind of used the werewolf as a metaphor for a bit of their the bloods on their hands from how they made their money, and I made it to make Gabe a more palatable lead. He both needed to reject that and not really be a part of it. That's also one of the reasons why I did choose to make him mixed race, because I wanted to be clear that he's not just the Browley legacy. He's more to him, and I think that can be more obvious when you see that his Venezuelan ancestry in there too. But also the other part of that with making a mixed race too is this was one of my first books where I really tried to have a lot more diversity. I had been writing characters, when I've talked about it a bit before, where I imagined them different races, but then I would chicken out of actually writing them races, like really saying explicitly that they are a race, because I didn't want to do it the wrong way. I didn't want to be harmful, but instead I was just having totally white books, which is worse. I think I'd rather make attempts and stumble and learn than I'd rather have flawed people of color in my books than just all white people, basically, is the bottom line. So that's the other reason. And then the cast in this one is very diverse, and I did that on purpose because they're traveling. Again, it was a conscious about I was being conscious about diversity, and I also wanted this to be it's people from all over with all kinds of differences and all kinds of stuff coming together to be a big found family. That's kind of all the way there. I also felt like, you know, in Freaks, the carnival does lose some people. They lose Blossom. They've got injuries, and I just didn't feel like they deserved to have any more loss, which is why. But I did feel like with the big battle at the end, someone should be lost, and I felt like it was important that that loss hurt Della Jane, and so that made Selena the best choice. I did really like Selena though. I mean, I liked I liked most of the characters though, to be honest. And sometimes you have to kill characters that you like, otherwise everyone has a character shield, and I worry that the books will get boring. But I don't know. Maybe I'll write a book where no one dies. For the next spoiler question, and the final one is what did you think? Because the book is set in 1987. So what do I think that Gabe and Mara and everyone is up to now? So Mara was born in 1969. So she is. Well, so Mara is 52 now, and so Gabe is about 53, I think. So yeah, they've had long lives since then. Yeah, I think they're still together. I think they travel with the carnival for a few years more, kind of figuring themselves and figuring out who they want to be, and then eventually they're gonna settle down roots. I don't really know what Gabe wants to do. I didn't have I guess a clear enough direction for what I wanted for a career for him, but I think that, you know, he's willing to work hard, and he's going to have to, it's going to be an adjustment for him because he's always grown up with a lot of money, and then he's going to move to the carnival, you know, run up with this carnival that's super broke. And I imagine that he took some money with him and has some things, like he's got his nice sports car and some clothes and stuff that he could sell if he needs to, but it's still going to be an adjustment for him for sure at first. But I do like to think that it would eventually work out. And they eventually get a house. I think that Mara is going to continue to hone her powers, and she's going to set up like you know, a palm reading type shop, like maybe like run it out of like the lower level of her house and do stuff there and be able to help people that way, and still work on her necromancy, but she's going to do more moderation than her mother was able to do, and she's also going to practice more self-care and learn how to do things like meditation and yoga to help, and probably some other supernatural treatments to help her from having the problems that her mom and grandmother and great-grandmother had with their necromancy. And I would like to think that the carnival struggled for a little while, but then they had a boom in the 90s when the carnivals kind of came up, as I talked about earlier, and that they were Gaten was able to make some money and retire and have like a little, I don't know, like a little mobile home someplace and have a little stead where with him and Lianka, and I think that they're happy. Roxy and Hutch eventually get together and get married, and I think they have kids. Mara and Gabe will definitely have kids. They had like 2 or 3 kids. Then if they have a girl, they'll name her Selena for sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that Gabe really has any relationship with his mom going forward. I think he talks to his dad a little bit, but I think his dad and his mom remain married for a while at least, and so I don't know if he has a full relationship with them. But I think that, you know, she did some pretty terrible things, and I don't know if he like how he's gonna come back to that. I guess it depends on how much she makes amends for it, or if she really learns and grows, or what really happens after that. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of changes going on. I mean, with all this coming out and everything that happened in Selena's death, it's, you know, a lot. But overall, yeah, I would say that they're happy. I would say that they're doing well. They have kids. They might even have we might even have grandkids now. So yeah, I mean, I think they're very happy though, for sure. I think they had a lot of fun together, and they're the annoying like parents, people like, you know, who are always kissing in front of their kids because they're happy. So yeah, but Mara definitely gets a cute little house. She wants a house, and she'll get a house. I mean, they're gonna, yeah, for sure. So those are the questions, and they were some really great questions. I really enjoyed seeing what you guys said. I got a lot of comments and stuff, people just talking about how much they love the book, and that was always really great to hear, because like I said, this book doesn't get a lot of love, and it is something that's special to me, and I think it is really fun. And if you like Stranger Things, if you like Pretty Pink, if you like The Lost Boys, I think that you will like Freaks, and I think that you should check it out, because it's really good. there's still more things going on for Freaks Week, so please make sure that you're checking it out. And I've got links and stuff around where you can check and see what's going on, because I try to keep those updated with all the latest happenings for weeks. And there are multiple giveaways, so check them out. The giveaway on YouTube is always like a really good one, because not a lot of people comment, not a lot of people are following me here, so it's a really good place to try for giveaways. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. Next week will be Valkyrie week. Well, I'll be celebrating my Valkyrie duology, and I've got like a lot, so please stay tuned. It's gonna be very exciting. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, and happy reading. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe.